Howdys and salutations. What on earth is happening with this? What? Sorry for that. That's not really the best intro to a stream, but it appears I'm sharing screen on my reference, which amongst other things is a spoiler, but that's fine. Pardon. Well, not a spoiler for anything in particular. Let's try that again, shall we? Or is it that just that pure ref is massive? Ah, that's it. Well, y'all may be familiar with PureRef, the tool I use to bring up reference images every so often. It appears I need to do something about it in my overlay because it's busted. So give me a second. We'll pop that away. Aha, now we can sort of get at it better. Let's put this back, and we can shrink this down a little bit. Hello! I don't like that it warps the images. That's reasonably close to actual. Okay, hello. Note to self, use shift whenever resizing this in the future. Learn something every day. So, sorry about the delay. Realized that I didn't grab water or food or anything really before starting the stream, and I needed to have some snacks and stuff on hand. So, gathered that. But I was prepping things. We do actually have a color palette I made, for better or for worse. And we have an idea for today's stream. I've just realized I've forgotten to grab some of the reference images I wanted, but I got some of the others. So we're gonna do some stream info updates real quick, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Also, I think my category is still Stardew Valley, isn't it? We should probably fix that. Yeah, not that, unfortunately. Much as I love it. Throw a spooky tag in there, even though this isn't really that spooky. It's not spoopy either. Actually, I'm removing spooky and putting spoopy. Close enough. Okay, stream info should be slightly less completely wrong now. How's about that? So, some of you may remember way back when, I say that as if it wasn't just like 2 or 3 months ago, but a while back, I guess it was August. Late August. Wow, really? September felt like so long. It was an awesome long, but it was so long. Okay, but shortly before Swordtember, we drew some items in the style of Pokemon items, specifically in the style of Pokemon Sword and Shield's curry ingredients. Because I think it's a neat style to try to learn from. And, I don't know, they're fun like icons or stickers or whatever. It's a cute little style that's easy to do, and you can do a bunch of stuff in it. And it's fun. So I thought, since we're not streaming on Monday, and I don't want to do and I know we're doing Blender in November, so I don't want to go too long without, having a spooky stream for Halloween. There we go. That's the thought. Basically, I want to do something spoopy, but not like too spoopy. So we're gonna be doing some pumpkin drawings in this sort of sticker style. Sorry, I really did need water, and the music just died at the exact same time that I paused to drink water. That is my bad. But yes, so this is what we're doing. We're going to try this color palette out for size. I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to not be ideal, but it'll do. The other thing I'm going to do is grab another reference source, and well, we'll just see what we can do with this. I would share the reference search, but well, you never know what's going to turn up on Google, really, do you? Oh, a lot of glass pumpkins. Those are cute. But not exactly what we're looking for. No ho. Instead, what I seek is sort of a myriad of small pumpkin-like gourds. Option. I'm being indecisive and taking too long. Let's just grab one and run with it. Well, two. Specifically, I'm going to grab two, and I'm going to throw them in this reference view, even though they definitely don't belong in the Pokemon reference, but that's fine. One of these is going to be a nice little side view, and one of these is going to have a little bit more variety. That way we can mix things up a bit. So, let's scoot our view out here, move on to the top. What do you mean canvas locked? That's Control R. Can I Control R? Control plus R. Huh. Mode. Nope. Ah, yes, I don't want to lock the canvas. Reset camera. That fix it? Maybe. Is the file type? Weird. That's weird. Oh, the whole thing's locked. Now that's weird. Let me restart PureRef real quick. Doing some weird loading thing. There we go. We learned our lesson about resizing improperly, so we shall not repeat that folly. We'll get these two in here. And, let's see. Actually, no, hold on. Let's load that Pokefoods. We won't bother saving this one. Throw these in towards the top. That should be okay. That way we've got everything in one referencey area. Okay, that was a little bit of a last-minute pumpkin hunt, but I think we have picked out our pumpkins from the patch, and we're just about ready to get started. Now I just need to remember how the heck I did this, because it's been like 2 months. Almost exactly 2 months. We're just 2 days off. Let's look at our layers real quick. Oh right, this is the one where I got that interesting EXC visitor. No clue whatever happened with that. Oh right, I've still got the sketch layer on this one, which is kind of interesting. Let's look at the lava lamp, because we got a few layers in here. We've got some perspective lines to really make sure that we're very angular and precise. That is, even with pumpkins and we'll want a little variation, it still want to look calculated. On top of that, we've got the sketch layer, so we'll go ahead and hide these ones. So we've got our perspective lines, we've got the sketch that follows those lines. Now, those lines also help us stay in proportion. Got ourselves the color layer, which is actually not terrible in its own right. And once again, if I could just get it to not be quite as rough on the outer edges, it'd be a lot better. I need to figure out if there's a setting on the fill tool. I've been looking and haven't found anything, but I also haven't found any outright statement that it doesn't have a, like, not rasterization, but, oh, there's a word for it. Super common word. It's a setting you can adjust in a lot of games, too, to help it run better. Oh, jeepers, what the heck is that word? Why can't I remember it? Anti-aliasing. Haha. That. I don't know if there's any options for that for the fill bucket, because it'd sure be nice if there was. But in lieu of that, we do have the inks, which is more in the Pokemon style. I'm not necessarily going to be trying to stick exactly to that style. I just want to come up with a fun, like, stickery style at this point. And, looks like the interior ink alignment might be a little bit off. Yeah, I think I tossed those for the final one. That's okay. We also removed sketch and perspective lines, of course. And I think the wall calendar followed a similar sort of principle. Although, it just kind of... Either I lost the sketch layer or I just kind of went for it. Guess that works too. I was going to say that I don't think the color added that much because it looks pretty complete here, but the color does still make it pop. it's worth. Okay. But we've got a very sort of, wow, of course. Sort of dull fall tones here. Won't be quite as poppy, but that's okay. May want a cooler white for the background, but we'll see. We'll see on that. But before we see on that, let's get ourselves a pumpkin sketch layer. And I think we ought to just sort of launch into this. Like, let's pick one that's not anything crazy. Suspicious these aren't real pumpkins. Stems look kind of paper mache custom-y. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, there's some weirdness on that. Okay. These are more likely to be real, or I guess just better fakes. Also, the inner lines here. Maybe it's just not the type of pumpkins I've seen, but they look off. But who knows? To each their own, after all. Maybe they're pumpkin, as in related to the pumpkins. Kin of the pumps, if you will. Okay, I've been yammering on a while, and I'm not as tired as I have been on some recent streams, but this should still be a little you know, it's still gonna be a little low key. I'm not gonna lie. So let's sort of get the feel in. Realize I've got all my stuff shifted around. I've been, again, like I may have mentioned a little bit on the other stream, I've been doing some sewing lately, which means my desk is super in disarray. Because I scooted all of like keyboard and stuff out of the way to set up the sewing machine. And I've now scooted the sewing machine out of the way to set up the keyboard. Suffice it to say, space is a little bit tight. Although my desk is big, so like, you know, not that tight. Let's see. We'll start with something small and approachable, and we'll build our way out, you know? I'm going to aim for that sort of lower left-hand pumpkin. Let's zoom in on you. And I'm going to try to just get a feel for the proportions. Once again, we sort of... I think those weren't a bad idea for creating something fairly recognizable. Yowza, that's a big line. Let's maybe tone that down a notch. Okay. So let's see. Pumpkin is about at its widest point 2/3 of its height. Flip that. The height is 2/3 of the width. And I am decent at eyeballing things, but I'm not that good. I'm using the old hold up a pencil to it, put your thumb at one length, and then just rotate the pencil around the image to compare. Because otherwise I would have probably said like 50%, but it is a little more than that. So let's grab a line here, grab a line that's roughly 2/3 of it, then another line that is roughly 1/6, which we'll save for a later date. It's a special tool. I can't do it. I can't quote Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. That show, like, scared me as a child. This isn't a vector layer. I'm a silly. Oopsie doodle. Well, there's still a way to make this work. It's just going to be a little bit jankier. I can just grab and manually move this as needed. Sorry, raster layer. This is not how you're meant to be used. And that height was roughly 50% of this. Looks centered without the select. Actually, not terrible. I think this needs to move down just a hair. It's not. Whoops. Let's try this again, shall we? This up. Move it over so that it's about there. That feels better. And then this little piece for later is for the bit that's behind. Ah, brain is still telling me that, like, yes and yes. Portion-wise. Ah, you know, I do think maybe it was actually 50-50 and not, you know, 60, 100. I guess it'd be 50, 100, and 60, 100 would be more correct. Okay. Well, that's easily fixed. Just move a little bit. See, gut instinct means this feels better, but also gut instinct frequently lies to me when it comes to proportions. So, I mean, sometimes it's good, but frequently it's not. Let's see, I'm gonna try to draw an even circle just once, and it's already going horribly wrong. So, we are going to use the vector tools that we have available to us, because they're nifty little things. Oh. I never figured out how to end the Bezier curve tool. I don't think that's gonna let me do what I want it to. Oh, maybe. And like the last one's always this weird overhanging handle. I never do it right. There's a way to make that work. However, I think maybe I mean it's not right, but it's less wrong. I think the top's actually pretty good. I just need to widen the bottom out a little bit because the width here is gonna it's tapering too hard. And we can do that using another of the vector tools. Add a control point. Add a control point. Add control points. Oh, jeepers, this has done weird things. Why did I move these in roughly the same way? I'm not sold on this. Doesn't look right. The continuous curve was also the wrong type of line. Let's, Okay, vector tools. I know there's much we can do. What can we do here that's useful, though? Ellipse, maybe? Just start out with a plain old normal one and build from there? Yeah, methinks. But actually not like this. Whoa, I forgot that we were on center point mode. Good mode to have, to be fair. I just need to remember we're using it. There's kind of this centerpiece, and then, for lack of a better word, it kind of comes up around? Like, not this much. Oh, maybe this much? My proportion guides really believed it's like this much. I do believe I've done something wrong. Maybe it's attempting to draw odd ovals without actually planning out how to draw odd ovals. Oh, and can y'all not even, am I not even sharing the pure ref reference? Oh, dagnabbit. Okay. There we go. Now you can see the pumpkin I'm looking at. All that conversation about them looking a little off probably made no sense before this, did it? Sorry about that. Hope it wasn't too terrible of a wait for me to fix that mess. Okay. The opposite of what I want to do. I want to do erase, not add more. Okay, I do think these original lines might be a little off. In fact, I think I'm just gonna toss them and start from scratch. You know, fresh beginnings. Get a whitish line for it. Figuring out width and height. What's the widest part really is literally 50% of the way up, even at this weird angle, which is kind of interesting. Or at least it's sufficiently close to 50% that I can get away with that approximation. Height-wise, it's like really is about 2/3 total height based on that, but then angle is more on how we then subdivide it. So let's just make a perfect oval with those proportions. I say that as though that's going to be an easy thing to do. Okay. This is the beginnings of a perfect oval. However, it's not yet one. Okay, good, it's not filling. I need to make sure that I get clear secondary points for this. I don't know if this is the right way to design like shapes for the record, but in my experience when I'm doing rounded circles and edges, I need more than just like let's say that we're trying to draw an arch, and sometimes you're like, okay, here's how wide it is, and here's how tall it is. Go at it. That's not enough for me to figure out what you want. Because you could want something like this, or you could want a much smoother down. And both of those are fitting for different situations. And obviously with two of them you get like an egg shape, this particular combo. Boom, egg. But, I mean, the point is, it's hard to know unless we have, the more reference points, the better. But if I need to know, you know, need to know where we want to go. And with this one, I think we want, this rectangle itself might actually be a little bit too big. That's going to be, no, it always needs to be slightly bigger than I think it does. Let's start with this. I think that's still going to be too steep, honestly. Because, yeah, it makes these ends into a real point. Isn't exactly what we want, and it's kind of the issue the other one had. Also, I think the rectangle's a little too far to the right. So we shall fix both of those things. Let's give it another go. Because with the pumpkin, you look at this curve, the pumpkin curve, it's not obvious where the outermost point of this ovalish shape is, right? At least I don't think it is. Like, it's just a smooth curve, start to finish. Whereas, like, what I mean is, like, once again, sort of like this. Like, sometimes you get, like, a nice smooth curve around, and it's, even if you know roughly where the endpoints are, it's not exactly clear. Other times when you get these much sharper curves, pretty clear where the point was, if you don't botch it quite that bad. But yeah, that's what I mean. There is definitely a difference. And Bezier curves, that's not how you say it, by the way. At one point I knew how to say it. I don't know how anymore. Although I might be mixing it up with Euler, U-L-E-R, which I've always called Euler, rhyme it with Ferris Bueller. But it's technically Euler, apparently. Or you know, huh? But yeah, no, that's unrelated. That's a whole different thing. The point is that the Bezier, Bezier, the fancy curves, um, they're they're designed to help with this so that you can adjust that more directly. Whoops. But they're not always helpful. This case being an example. Okay, so there we go. We've got ourselves a nice, lovely oval. However, there's a little more to it than that because we really need just the top section here to have a clear point. Suddenly, it has a bit more 3D form to it, which is nice. We'll get the indents from the edges eventually, but you even in the reference, if you look at the silhouette, it's not really all that indented. Let's call it that. Anything on the sketch layer? Okay. Portions 2. Let's do an actual thing now. Actually gonna just merge these. Rats, it's raster instead of vector. Whatever, it's fine. I should have seen that coming. Let's start with this. Now, I'm not necessarily as sold on the flat, well, there's a lot to be said for a flat black border when it comes to sticker type things. But I don't want to rely on it too heavily right now, so let's start out where we're at. I think I just want to block in the form first. Let me actually grab my selector pen for all of its fun. It's easy to do stuff like this. Although I've noticed I've not been relying on it as heavily lately, which is interesting. I don't know if that means that I've just forgotten my workflow, or if I've actually sort of adapted to new things we'll see. There is certainly something to be said about being able to erase and unerase with this much ease. Things here, suppose, logically follows, doesn't it? Okay, yeah, maybe I should have eased my way into the conversation a little better today. I'm clearly not at 100% communication skills for getting a speech debuff, but it's a minor one, so we'll keep going. Let's start with a middle color. Right. Need a color layer for it. Oh right, that's the delete, not the fill. That was the other issue. Okay. And now we'll get to see how actually egg-shaped it is. A little bit. Generally speaking, that's okay, but for this sort of style I'm aiming for, I really do want to keep it as precise as possible. I guess this is a way to do the fill, just the anti-aliasing a little better. Maybe I can use that select tool that just auto finds the edges. So like I fill it normally, and I use the select tool, then I fill with that, and it'll anti-alias it. I'm not sure. I'll have to test that, but this isn't really a great moment to test it. See, this is why I enjoy streaming, because I've just realized, like, I haven't actually used this tool in ages, and it used to be an essential part of my workflow. So I'm curious, A, when I stopped and why, because I'd almost just forgotten that I did it at all, and it used to be, like, the every stream tool. Oh, this is a nice song. One second. Ex Incognito from, oh, Genshin Impact. Neat. I hope that wasn't a spoiler for anyone who knows enough Latin to know what it says. Apologies if it was. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and get a slightly darker tone in for this little bit up here. We'll build on that. Obviously, that's not final, but we're getting pieces in place. I wish I had a slightly better yellow in this palette. I guess I can add one. A little more properly yellow while still being comfortably in the orange zone. A little more vibrant. There we go. We'll tone it down a hair. Yeah, that'll be good. This will be our yellow. Okay, cool. Nothing on this layer yet, so we can use it to start figuring this out. I realize in the final we won't be using the sketchy pencil for this. We'll probably be using a nice clean pen to ink it. But in the short term, this is all that we need. I say as I proceed to botch it repeatedly. For now. That one, there's... And at each of these, the shadow tells a lot of the story of the curvature. The actual outline, the silhouette, doesn't really do nearly as much as I would have thought. That's interesting. And zoom. Let's see. I want to make sure the height of the curve is at roughly the same place around the whole pumpkin proportionally. So let's just do some height markers for where that like outermost point before it starts curving back in should be. There we go. See, that's better. Still maybe a little low, but much better. This one's flat enough that it's not actually a huge deal one way or the other. Direct line would probably be somewhere around here, though. There we go. We do need more in curve at the top, though. Again, this angle is not so big, and this one is going to be fairly soft, but this one right here definitely needed to be steeper. That works. Throw one more over here, and this one may actually end up affecting the silhouette a little bit. Do another one here. So again, we've got our little in curve, although from this particular angle, this one isn't super visible regardless. Keep curving out, we smooth, and at that point we start curving back in. Really ought to steepen down below too. Got that one a little too soft probably. Nothing bad about it, just a little bit soft. That up with this one. Okay. Right now this looks like some horrendous Elden Ring like olive thing. We don't want that. Let me grab and just pencil in loosely a stem. Oops. Sorry if that was loud. I accidentally punched my own microphone. Genius, I know. Let's see. It's not really like that. It's more. Be real careful when I'm drawing this. Like a series of noses almost. This one kind of goes up. I'm gonna kind of make this one kind of scraggly and broken. We don't need it to go all the way up. Actually, maybe we do, because I don't want to have to draw the other side. Well, you know what? We'll do a little bit of drawing the other side. That's okay. So now that we've got this, let's see where we actually do need to affect the silhouette a little bit. Nothing crazy, just a little bit. A little bit of warping towards the top is kind of normal. It just shows indentions, so I'm okay with that. And warping, especially around the yellow lines, is more common at the top than it is along the sides. Do that. We can even be a little stricter if I want, or a little more defined, rather. Just for this piece. Put away that proportions guide at this point. That works out kind of with our shaded area. Not intentional, but always nice. Potential for future reference. Just like, again, a little tiny bit of curvature at the bottom. It's mostly done with shadow down there. I'll have to be a little careful about how I want to handle that. Point is, nothing crazy. Even in trying to exaggerate for art, nothing crazy with those. They're not actually all that bold. And it ends up looking weird if you make them that bold. Also, I think that rather than... So, when looking at the lines, like, blending curves into each other, you can have a smooth one like this, or you can have sort of like bump, cut in and over. And we sort of got the second, when really what we want here is the dominant should not be the indent, but the curve, so it should be like a curve. Trying to think. Something more like that. Not exactly that, but closer to thereabouts. I'm gonna smooth this one out a little bit. All that to say, I'm going to smooth that one out a little bit. Yeah, something like that. That's a little too big even for me on this. There we go. Cool. I mean, I like the big erasers, but that's a tad much. Let's see. Now, there's a chance that there's some weird detail, like pumpkins always have an even number of like sections or some such that I don't know about that's going to get the pumpkin purists mad, but I don't know about anything like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 7. Okay, so we're at 8 right now. I could make it 9. I think it might look a little better for the composition with 9, but I truthfully don't know if that would be correct to do or not. So we're just gonna have to hope that there's not some pumpkin number magic. You may think I'm crazy for even considering that, but like genuinely, like flowers and stuff, the patterns and things that they follow with their petals and leaves, fascinating how interesting and also complicated it can be. But a lot of them do have very, very consistent numbers of petals and leaves, which is neat. It's actually super cool. It's more obvious on things with a small number of petals. Like if you see a 5-petaled flower, you're gonna notice real quick if it actually has variants or not. If you see one that's got like 20 petals around, you may not realize, but maybe they really do always have 20. You know, unless it gets damaged or one blows away or some such. You know, as per typical. Okay. Now I think the next thing I'm gonna have to add to this, besides a little on texture, definitely some shading though. And before I do that, I just wanted to take a quick look at some of these and how they handle it. For the most part, sharp edges, even on things which are rounded, like this, like it's still a wobbly edge, but it's still, there's no like soft blending in this. Yeah, clear edge like a topo map. Good, that's actually kind of how I like it. Like this one's a little more scraggly, but I think it's A, it's more bread texture, and B, it's the wrapping reflection. They do have shadows and highlights, however, so I'll just want to keep that in mind. Pardonnez-moi. So, with that in mind, let's do a quick shade layer. Doodle. Okay, we'll call these what they are. This should probably be on a shade layer, but we're doing the first one of the night. It's fine. The sketchier one. Genius. It's the yellow, the sketchier at least. Okay, this one, I do actually want normal because we ain't blending squat, and let's do this. Well, let's break out our selection. Well, actually, you know what? Let's just do it with a pen. I think we've gotten enough millipen control practice. Maybe that's part of why we've moved to using more shading and such with it. Of course, we'll see. Step one is I do need variance on ours, and all I've really changed is the saturation, which is not the right thing to change to get highlights and shadows, I'm remembering. So that's going to be awkward. Let's do some highlights first, though. Mainly because my eyes are having a better time picking them out on the pumpkin, and sometimes once you get like one of the highlights or shadow things on there, the other pops better, because your brain's like, okay, we've dealt with that, now let's look at the other thing. Do a little bit with that. Obviously, the whole pumpkin's sort of lighter on this, but I hadn't even noticed that until we started really leaning into the highlights. So let's really lean into the highlights. Then we can use our slightly softer highlight to sort of round. That's going to define our lighter areas. I'll give this a little more shape once I actually, do it right. That's the dragon song from Zelda. Breath of the Wild Zelda, I mean. Sounds like it. That was a good song. Those dudes were wild. Especially once I realized they always showed up in the same places. And that they had shrines. I thought they were just kind of like, things. They just hung out, did stuff. And everything around the lightning one is so horrible. um, so horrible. Really the worst. Um, pardon, that I didn't end up spending much time focusing on the dragon because I was trying not to die from 50 other things. Okay, again, I want softer edges on this. And I want to lean towards the light being coming from the right here. That's where it is for the most part in the reference image, although you can see they've got a little reflected in the left. Let's just stick with kind of like, realize it's maybe a little big for some of this, but like, still think it's better to try to stick with this style for right now, and if it doesn't work, well, then we'll adapt. Oh, there was something on my screen here, but that's just our marker for the vertical lines. That's not permanent, don't worry. Pull up into it a little bit like that. We'll see if that's worth it. It is like a little steeper on the top. Not quite that much. Round these off a little bit. That's just squaring it off, but fine, whatever. This one too. That'll do. Now let's keep going with the drawing. These ones are going to be pretty light up here. Not all of it, mind, but a lot of it. After a certain point, it's all kind of facing it. Don't worry, we'll bring back the uber highlights in just a moment. Really, I should start with one like light layer at a time. Sorry, this is a dumb thought, but the only thing that came to my mind when I said that was Buzz Lightlayer. Not his name. Not even close. Gotta watch that new movie. This does end up continuing all the way down in the end. Like, there's a little bit up there, but it's, yeah. We'll have to have a similar thing going on down here, I assume. Yeah. Curve that up. Quite like that. Yeah, that'll do. Slightly smaller eraser, but I don't want to get too fine point on this. Okay. Then we can just, I don't know. Gray pumpkin stem, yay. Really should just do a color for it. It's gonna be better. And I accidentally outlined it with the dark color anyway, so that's fine. That works out well. Okay, now back to our Uber highlights. On 20, let's drop these down to 15 a little bit. Maybe even 12, honestly. The problem is they need to kind of follow the curvature of the pumpkin. Which is kind of hard to do with the rounding off of the tip on this particular pen type with the bigger ones. Have to be a little bit creative with that. I got like another small one there. There's a bigger one up here. It's kind of on that piece. It's just kind of triangular, so I don't want to get far off. Okay. You can sort of shrink these ones down too. Don't need the full size for that, mind. We'll just Go in here with maybe a 17. The fact that there's like a little bit of color going on over here, you can tell there's a light source of some sort somewhere. But nothing quite nearly as crazy as on the other side. Have this follow the curve of the pumpkin. If that, okay. Now let's, honestly, it looks like there'd be shadows creeping in from below, but I don't know if this is going to be the right tool for shadow. It's so saturated, but we'll give it a shot. I really need a little more gray in it, probably, but no, it'll be a unique look, that's for sure. We'll make it pop though, which might be worth it. Like just a little bigger as it goes toward the bottom. There should be another one sort of coming up, but still following the pumpkin curve. There we go, that's better. More little patches of darkness over here. Wish we had one more tier that was like sort of like we have the hyper brights and the normal. I feel like this should be, if it's going to be anything, it ought to be the hyper darks. But like, just don't really have like a sub dark. I realize this is technically a sub dark, but it's also not in our shade set, and I don't remember what I did to get it, which is bad. That means I've gone and done something silly. Unless, oh, we do. Oh, oh, better yet. There's still some over here where it definitely deserves the mega dark. Don't get me wrong. Doesn't need to go up as high or be as wide. See. That one I feel is correct actually for some reason. We'll just sort of fold this one in. Fine. Continue an equivalent up on this side. Not quite gonna meet in the middle. I don't want to that off a little bit. This one ought to get pretty dark as we go in, and pretty much anything around the base here is going to get pretty dark. This up a little bit with the eraser. Let's just see. Sorry, I realized I just went kind of into quiet focus mode there for a minute. Not really what I meant to do, but sometimes it is handy to do it. Hey, stop messing with this. Messing with it by accident. Definitely don't want to do that. Oops. This feels like a wrap-up song, you know? Like we're not there yet on the stream. We can't be doing this song yet. What song is this one? Bamboo Island. From Zelda, one of them. Skyward Sword? Looks like it. Let's see. Trying to think if I've watched or done anything interesting lately. Honestly, most of recently, the only stuff I've been watching is Fairy Tale, and it's a fine show, but it's not like my favorite thing in the world. Um, I'm watching it because it's, already dubbed, so I can just chuck it on in the background, and it's really long, so I don't have to worry about like missing too much. um, just kind of a silly reason to choose it, but point is, it has been a fun little show. Not little at all; it's massive. It has so many episodes. I don't know how it went for so long. Like, I'm not complaining. Pretty cool that it did. I am just a little surprised. Doesn't I guess it's just, generally solid shonen writing, but it's not like doing anything super new or unique. Or maybe it was new and unique back when it came out, and just not anymore because that's sort of the way things go. Well, that's certainly an interesting looking pumpkin-like thing. I feel like I need a patch of just kind of normal in here to break this up. We'll see. These just seem like a little too smooth and rounded, and I kind of, yeah, a little bit more point. Edge this one so that it's working that way a little better. There we go. Okay. Oh, I guess I do want to do a little bit of shading up here in the top. Get a small brush and actually try to sort of like follow edges up there. I'm sure that would have its like little highlights and such. Kind of how that stuff is always textured. A lot of different little broken edges that can catch the light. I think of where else. I guess there's like actually a fair bit in here. Fair bit going on down there and here. Not as much, just a little bit there. Yeah, and then we can get some highlights where it really matters. There we go, and now as is tradition, what happens if we remove the lines? Still reads as pumpkin, reads as horrifying tomato. Probably means the shading's not quite good enough to get the indentations looking right. And honestly, it's not dreadful. Interesting. And it's not horribly off from the original either. Like, that's recognizably pumpkin. Albeit not in the art style that we've been looking at. So, let's have a little bit of fun with this. Because we ain't done yet, just because we... Nope. I think it's time for us to do the lines properly, don't y'all? Not just sketched in with pencil and random spots elsewhere. Okay, I don't want to make it too heavyweight, though. I love fruits where they've got like these, obviously not cutting lines. The fruit did not grow with the intent of being cut, nor did evolution likely select in a short time frame. Yes, trimability is the key survival attribute for this. However, I love them where they've got these little like section lines around them. I guess even like little oranges and stuff, like not tangerines. I honestly don't remember what they're called. My brain's saying Mongolians, and that's flagrantly wrong. I'm sure someone knows what I mean, though. Mandarins. Wow, I wasn't even close. Not That's some weird word association. Brain, we need to fix that. Okay, anyway, there's the little like orange-like fruits. Like, because of the way they have the subsections, it works like this, and it's just wild to me that they have those subsections. I don't know what the benefit is. I guess it's similar to like, why do flowers have individual petals instead of just a big old stinking sun cone? And the answer to that is, I mean, other than maybe trying to attract bugs, I guess maybe it's redundancy? Like, if you had a cone and it got damaged, it might break everything, whereas if you have a petal and it gets grabbed, it just loses the petal. Not really sure why petals happen to fare better in a lot of cases. Or maybe they don't. We're just familiar with the petal flowers. But like, maybe there's this whole series of the cones, or the secret flower powerhouses. Personally, I don't know. I do think we're gonna test it. This is the way that Pokemon one did it, albeit theirs were always black outlines. Kind of wishing I had even more stabilization on than I do. Oh well. Make do with what we have. A little bit faster is just always a little bit better. Crazy how that works. It was against my intuition, that's for sure. Learn to not do such long sections. Obviously, when it's just a smooth straightaway, you kind of want to do the long section because it tends to allow for smoother curves. But otherwise, definitely want short sections because it allows for undoing. If I botched that right towards the end, I'd have been annoyed because a lot of it was quite good. Always got to appreciate the Deltarune soundtrack. I'll be honest, originally the Deltarune soundtrack didn't really do it for me. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the Undertale one and they were good songs. It's hard to recapture that magic, and it's still not quite at the same level as Undertale's. Not in terms of quality, but in terms of my personal affinity for it. But also, like, we haven't had as much game and story and everything to like get the hang of it. Like, we're only on like part 2 of 7 for Deltarune, assuming those are final numbers. Whereas Undertale, we got the whole game. It's a little unfair to compare just yet. And they're still good. Like, even in just part 2, they've grown on me significantly from part 1. So even the part 1 songs now like sound better to me, which is crazy. They haven't changed. Unless Toby pulled a real fast one. Which, don't get me wrong, would be completely in character. Mr. Toby writes fan fiction for the Tumblr Most Attractive Man contest. Not a judgment there, it's just, you know, he is on the internet and very internet culture savvy, is my point. This, and we'll adjust the arc there. More clear that this is an intentional, like, jump in. That's fine. Oops, that one was fine until I accidentally moved it. Well, it is technically pumpkin-like. We've got to grant it that. However, it's not really the approach I'd intended to take. I guess I can do a little bit more cleanup on just 2. Whoops, nope, not that one. One was that, though. One is cleaning up the extra lines here. There we go. Hit pumpkin. I do think I want to do another little bit of thinking before we go on to do the second pumpkin, though. And it is about time for everyone to take a snack and water break. I'll be back in just a few moments. See y'all on the flip side. Howdys and salutations, y'all. We're back. No. No, I've gone and done it again. No. I learned. I figured out how to fix it this time. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that every time, but this time. So, let's look at some of these other ones and see if we can't figure out something a little simpler to do. I think, let's use the fried chicken as an example. Yum. But besides the yum, why does a random person standing outside sell this to you? I'm not sure I'd trust that. Anyway, like if it was at a food truck, maybe, but okay. The point being, I think we got too much detail, too much sharpness going on here with our pumpkin. If we want this to look icony, then by golly, we got to make it icony. So, I like this pumpkin. Even with the lines, I'm not sure they add all that much, but you know, they're there. Okay. Anyway, let's just pop these in a folder. Whoa! Not what I meant to do. Don't worry, pumpkin's still here. We're the ones that got lost. Pardon. UMPKIN1. Pumpkin. Oh no. But let's move ourselves elsewhere and have another go at something a little bit more straightforward. One, I think we're going to do a simpler color palette. 3 colors, that's it. Plus maybe a border outline that's darker than the rest. So these 3 will be our 3 colors. This will be our center base color. Point 2 is maybe let's abstract them pumpkins out a little bit more. B, let's use one of the white ones. Just well, I mean, I'm still going to use the orange color, but let's use this one because it's got kind of a wilder shape going. And rather than trying to get exact proportions and all that jazz, let's try to get the representative feel of it. I'm very bad about getting caught up in too much proportioning and not enough actual feel. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the times that's really good. That's what you want. But, you know, much as my gut may be wrong on proportion sometimes, it's oftentimes a little bit better about how it feels like things should look. Not necessarily about the best way to draw them and make them look that way, but definitely about the best way of like, huh, that doesn't look right. We need to work on that, or such. Example. That one over to the left still doesn't look quite right. Gonna have to work on that. This looks like horrible vampire teeth now, and I have regrets. Only because the sharpness of the bottom on some and this weird like pseudo symmetry. That's the thing you've got to be careful for trusting your gut. Your gut likes symmetry a lot more than you realize, and it will try to shove it in places it doesn't belong. It's like, no, not symmetrical for this. Right, I'm doing like a single stem color. That's got to taper up if we have it like that. Okay. Here's our middle color. And just like the smaller ones back there. And boom, that already is looking much better. It's not the same tone, is it? We ended up using the dark one again, didn't we? That's fine. Yeah, that'll be enough to make that distinctive. Okay. Not sure where this layer even came from, but it's here. So we just used it. That's fine. We can try that again with the ink, a little bit less feel as you go, because I do still want to try to keep this in that style. But I do think bigger lines are going to be doing us some favors here. Wrong layer to make a little faded. Okay. And that's the wrong layer to be drawing on. That's part of the reason why I like making the background layers like faded. It's not just so I can focus on the current layer I'm drawing. It's also so I can immediately tell if I'm drawing on the wrong layer. It has saved me at least like a half dozen times, probably more, just in the last 2 months. I would say worth. Wow, that gets so warpy right at that phase. Is this Queen's Palace? Pandora Palace? Same difference, yeah. I'll be honest, this song, it's good, but it felt like, I guess it's fittingly frantic for her. But at that phase of the game, I did end up getting like a tiny bit grating. But totally made up for the fact that like the city theme and the one before it, like the city outskirts, or this, I wish I remember what it was called. Cyber, I don't know, the first one where you go down the waterfall as the music hits is so good. Like, I really do enjoy the music of these games. They've just got a ridiculously high bar set by the music of the predecessors, which is a little unfair. Deltarune is its own thing after all and should be judged as such, even though it clearly still exists within the mental world of all the other Undertale stuff. I mean, Undertale's already so established to have like AUs and that sort of thing that like it's not even out of place in that regard. People are just like, oh yeah, it's just another one, which it's not. It's, I mean, I guess maybe kind of unclear. That's what makes it interesting. Well, that and the fun writing and the good characters. So many of those games where the only interest is the mystery of it and how unusual it is, they stop being interesting as soon as the series ends. Especially if the series ending is like unsatisfying and not able to capitalize on all that mystery. I've not seen it, but I heard Lost is sort of the quintessential example of this. But there are others, not to be confused with Lost, which is a meme, which disappointed a lot of people, but for other reasons. Let's see. Mainly, yeah, I don't know enough about that comic series or the artist, other than I just know that other comics have managed to do that transition from like not serious to serious, and not even like dark serious, but like it can be done smoothly. That seems like they just got it a little bit wrong. But I don't know enough about the comic or its audience or anything like that to make a full judgment call there. Thinking, don't ask me. Let's see. We can use fill for this bit. Oh dear. We'd probably want to hide the layer below it first though, wouldn't we? Yes. Oops. No, this one. Ah! You can turn into king when I'm startled. Silly. There we go. We've got our shade color. Admittedly, that's not how I want to do that shade color. I think we still want the lines on top. Tentatively make this a little bit lighter so that we can see. I'm liking how this one's going so far. More so than I liked the other one. But, you know, we'll see. That's a bad habit I know I have. And it's the problem is it's a good habit in a lot of scenarios, so I don't want to break it necessarily. But like I am too much of a I want to if I establish rules and guidelines for something, I want to stick by them, darn it. I do. I like them. Like, yes, we have established a process, we've established what is the correct look. Nothing else needs to worry about it now. But that's not like always like don't get me wrong, sometimes that is the right approach. It's not always. And oftentimes it's super the wrong approach. Okay, since I know we're not doing lineless on this one, just the nature of stickers, and so I know that even if the lines blend into the background, they'll still provide the edge that we need. Gotta think, I guess we do need to pay a little bit of attention to the nearby shapes, but I do also want to make sure that these selections are like clear angular-ish, not necessarily angular, but like clearly defined simple forms. There's not like a lot of warble, like this one has too much warble. Let's do something more like that. Get like a little bit more abstracty with the shadows. I think that's going to be interesting, and we'll, you know, if it doesn't work, we can undo it. At the very least, it's going to be more definitive. Is something, I think, good in this case. Doesn't mean they all have to be angular. They can be curved. It's got to be a nice smooth curve like that. And that some can be angular if I so think that that would be the more fitting way to do it. We'll see. We'll see. I could prove myself horribly wrong here in just a moment. I also don't know exactly where the light source on this is, which is a little bit awkward. Yeah, we'll do that. Then for the highlight, kind of a similar deal. Oops, and even sort of like something more like this. feel that I use a bigger brush for the highlight just to smooth it in. Light source is super inconsistent the way I'm drawing this, but that's also okay. Not that last one. Okay. Similar deal. I guess the light is to the left, generally speaking. But this has so many ridges and interesting things that even if it is to the left, sometimes we get shadows to the left too. Fine by me. This case, I do want to sort of get like a kind of angular-y shape, just get a blob going in there. And we'll go ahead and get at least one a little darker in here. I guess a little darker. We can get like a little highlight on the edge here. I don't know that that's going to show a whole lot, but you know, it's there. The border's going to define that a lot more than whatever color we put here. But yeah, I mean, you know, probably could stand to smooth some of this out a little bit, but that's, you know, already I think I'm in, like this, you know, looks like a more finished drawing perhaps, but I kind of like how this one's looking too. What happens if we maximize this layer? Oh, that gets a little awkward. The colors were looking too pleasant and soft. Go to the molt layer and just clean some of this up real quick. Yeah, and maybe the angular didn't work super hot. That's okay. We can tweak that. I think there's I think like here it actually adds a little bit of interest. It's a little more subtle. I think I just need to tone it down a little bit in some of the other areas where it's not adding so much. That actually made that a little better. This one. This one, let's at least pull it away from the top a little bit. Doesn't give away where our lines are so bad now. That one out. Make this one a little bit sharper actually. And have the curved top, then just have it have sort of an abrupt end. And I'm gonna actually undercurve this one a little bit, or undercut it rather with a curve. Oop. Catch that gap. I think that makes it fit a little better. And then this one just like so clearly looks like the outline is there. I'll have to do a little bit of outline cleanup, methinks, because I don't think we want to just dump the outline or else it gets real awkward. Yeah. And there's a lot of places where it's fine. Well, actually, even just having this be like a tiny bit less helps the outline be more defined, and it's clear that it makes it look like a shadow rather than a highlight, which is kind of the issue here. I love that that isn't even outline. That's just what I ended up drawing. I thought for sure it was. Maybe something like that even works. With the caveat that there's one other thing we can do, of course. Another multiply layer. This one we can get creative with, or I can start out with the supremely boring option that I'm actually going to do. Sometimes supremely boring is also clean but effective. Yeah, it has its place. And we'll just do a big old black border on this, with the outline only. I don't think it's going to look good on this one. But, you know, we'll see. This feels like one of those color scratch-off things. Like, I don't know, I played with one as I had a whole bunch of those little books as a kid, where like you scratch into it and it reveals the pattern underneath the paper. Except I'm doing the opposite. Well, I have revealed where some of the gaps in that outline are, and it's certainly a look. Wonder with, let's see, we're at 88. With max color, eh, 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 you know. Let's just turn that layer off for now, shall we? Order. Let me label my layers, darn it. I've been getting real lazy with that. Order. Whoops. Nope, not that. Highlight / shadows. And of course, flats. This one was just like the sketch, right? Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Okay. But that does at least look like an interesting, unique pumpkin. Not even exactly like the ref. It's just kind of its own thing. Although clearly based on the ref. Like that, you know, that might be an interesting thing to actually have in a background or as a sticker or some such. But let's try making more like this, honestly. At least like one more. Create folder. And ooh. Woo. Drink a little water. One of these days, I guess the next big thing I need to do for the stream is obviously learn my Blender. But in terms of actual stream, in addition to figuring out how the heck to use social media effectively, and actually, you know, promoting this sometimes so that people know I exist at all. Not that I'm complaining. There's something to be said for having a solo stream where you can just focus on the art. But it's nice to be able to talk to people too, you know? Especially when you're doing weird stuff like Blender or like Sword Timber and things. Like technical practice is one thing, but it's also not amazing for stream unless you've got people who are interested in it for the technical advice and can contribute. But you know, when you're doing like technical practice, sort of like what we've done most of this month, it kind of helps to devote more of your focus to it, helps you retain it better and come up with ideas. Whereas when you're implementing and just drawing things, it's more fun when you can talk to people, you know, share ideas, share opinions, learn if your drawing looks stinking bad, which sometimes they do. It happens. Got ourselves a tall and skinny boy. Shall we try that one? And see, this is a style I think would be fun to make like actual sticker sets and like, I don't know, sell stickers or at least have them. Do a sticker giveaway, something like that. Sticker Mania. Wait, no, not that color. I'm gonna keep the pumpkins all kind of the same color for now. I guess we could do like a lighter, just straight up a lighter pumpkin. If we're only doing sets of 3 now, we could do. This one's big, so it actually wouldn't hurt if it had a little. Okay, let's do that. Let's make this our key color, this our highlight, the gray highlight, and that, and we'll just have ourselves like kind of a faded or more faded ghosty pumpkin. I like that. This guy's tall and not as warbly. I'm just gonna kind of work our way to a line here. Not good line practice, mind you, but you know, that'll do. Oh, really? Thought this would for sure intercept it. Oh well, now it does. Got kind of a similar deal going on over here. You may be thinking, wow, you're really leaning into the bumps on the bottom even though it doesn't show those, and you'd be right, I am. make this one bigger, but like steeper. Not as much bigger as the other one. Square it off almost. Give it kind of an interesting, I don't know, something. We'll see. I want to smooth these further back ones need to sort of smoothen the bottom because they're not really at their lowest point when they're back there. Oh, and for the sake of believability, this one's actually going to come down a little lower so that it looks level and could actually stand up because it's so steep. My brain's saying, hey, what about the wobble? The stems on these look so handmade-ish. Like, they don't strike me... Like, the rest of the pumpkins are kind of believable, but the stems are just kind of wonky. I really want to lean into the height on this one, so I'm actually going to make this stem even taller. I guess if we're keeping up with the style of these other ones, well, we'll see. I think I am going to want to have these fully defined, though. As much as I like... If we were keeping these lines, I would want to keep, like, a simpler accent, but since we're not, I'm not. There we go. Got kind of that rectangle center. That's better. There we go. Now it doesn't just look like it's vanished, but like just it's got kind of a munchy side, which is fun. Adds character to the pumpkin. And as we know, all pumpkins need character. I have no idea what we're using. Oh, were we on 10 for both? Cool. That's what I like to hear. Don't know what I just did. Hopefully I didn't click any of those options. Okay. Of course, the ideal would be to do this all in one stroke. But, we're not exactly working in ideals tonight. Wowzers. A stray mark in there that was wild. I don't even know how I made it. Add up a little bit. Kind of cleaning as we go does make this easier. For the record, if you're actually trying to ink lines, doing it this scratchy way is so not the way. Quick, confident lines are the way to go for smoothness. But I actually, A, I kind of want wonky pumpkin lines. And B, I was being lazy and I'm making excuses for myself. Let's try to actually do this well. Obviously, I can't quite get the whole length in one, but I can be doing better than like 6 or 7 lines per. Let's add a little actual intentional warble to that. Did I do all this on the sketch layer? Well, it was karma. It was going to happen at some point. My hubris for not naming my layers. Because I thought about naming them and was like, it'll be fine. I'll do sketch it. I'll label them at the end. Don't do that. Oh yeah, that's a wild stem. Okay, see, if I'd faded this, I would have noticed that immediately. Well, I guess it, nope, see, I'm still, see, I caught it that time. Immediately obvious. Well, it's an excuse for us to do better line quality anyway. Singular fluid motions. For that. Just moved too slow on that one. That's okay. Again, this is one where if the line ends up not being quite as smooth as I'd like, that's actually not the end of the world. Just so long as I, you know, I don't just use it as an excuse for any old bad line, and it actually is one that kind of works with the rest of the drawing. Like if I'd had one that just kind of did that, then I'd have to, you know, axe that pretty quick. It's always good to get Breath of the Wild music. Even the ominous music from that game is still, like, wonderful. I heard they announced the sequel. I'm sure it's going to be sometime before we see it. Heck, who knows if it'll even be a Switch game by that point. Okay, there's a little bit. This is the other thing we can do is we can cheat. I know. Move that one in a little bit. There we go. I'm messing with vectors. I have to be careful or else I'll just mess with vectors all day and never actually finish drawing anything. Okay, now let's actually layer these properly. Sketch lines. Get some flats in here. Fairly simple one to fill. This regard, anyway. And we'll go for the full on. As usual, I always forget to put the flats below the lines. Now let's throw on highlight / shadow. Here we clip it to the right layer. We'll make the line work. Actually, we'll make the flats like a little softer. We can see what we're doing. And I may not follow the guide super exactly on this one. We'll see. Because it's got like a lot of other stuff obscuring it. I may grab a bigger one and just kind of block in big shapes first. Maybe not quite that big, mind. At least a better curve. Let's see, well, something similar here. Want to remember what I was sort of doing. Yeah, big ol', right, we were going chunkier, like more like geometric-y shape, either like smooth curves or like clear geometry. Didn't have to be exact, but it worked pretty well. That one ought to go right up to the edge. That. I do one down there too. And one there. And get like a little bit of a triangle here too. Or fill with the highlights. Ourselves a little bit of stem shadow going on here. Not exactly following my own rules with that one, but the stem's not exactly as much of a focal point. I'm just gonna mind if it looks a little bit different. That's fine. Okay, now we need to get our shadows in here. The shadows are always where I don't expect them. There's totally got to be one here. It makes perfect sense thinking about it, but like I never put it there. We can at least get a little bit around there. Fill this one roughly to that point. Big old triangle there. Not what that tool's for, but it worked. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, just thinking of other things. I don't know why this popped in my head. Any of y'all watch that like Bee and Puppy Cat show? I was bracing for something like a charming kids show, and maybe it is still that, but like it is also bizarre. I don't think I've done as good a job on this one. Mainly because I think I still ended up following the highlights on the original, even though I said I wasn't going to do that. And so now they're all clustered at the top. So the top looks like it's itself like a nice little pumpkin, but nothing else matches it. Oops. Maybe we'll keep that one. I'm just going to have a fresh go at the highlights, frankly. Highlight, shadow, alt. Oof, my back. I slept so weird last night. Like I woke up every 2 hours to use the restroom, which, I suppose better than not waking up in that regard. But it meant that since I always woke up in the middle of dreams, I remembered them all. So I had this like vivid, continuous story through all these 2-hour chunks. And like I know I ended up sleeping in some weird stinking positions trying to like get comfortable between those segments. I'd say it wasn't a nightmare, but like I guess I did technically probably die at the end, but like I don't know. The rest of the dream wasn't that scary other than doing badly in a calculus class. I don't know what it says about me that I fear doing badly in a class more than I feared being like hunted by witches that had like laser guns. Maybe the calculus one just felt more real. Okay, let's do some bold shapes with this. Hampton here's giving me the energy to go bold. I'd say why can't I fill this, but that'd be like asking why I can't fill the fill tools fill selection, and that feels like that would be redundant. Yeah. Yeah, no, Bizarre Dream, still not as bizarre as being Puppy Cat though. Like seriously, that show. Weird. Not like bad, just funky. Didn't really do it for me. Like I can totally, I like 100% can imagine that show being a huge hit. There is absolutely an audience for that kind of thing. Just, I'm not personally that audience, but I wish the best to all of them. Oh right, this is the super enthusiastic song. It's still gonna look just like a line. Meh, looks too generic. There we go, that's better. Oh! Whew. I'm gonna lay off on quite so much of the shadow this time. Like, it's got its place. Like, maybe less of it. I'm not sure it's gonna make any sense where I'm putting it. I promise there is a method to my madness, but it may just be a stupid method. So we'll see. Um, oh right, and I guess we still want to. Let's try keeping it in the style. See what happens. I don't think it's gonna work so well for this one, unless I do like smaller selection. go, that's interesting. Okay, and now if, hypothetically, the flats were back at full, it looks weird. Whoops. But, I don't know, more interesting. If I remove the lines, it just becomes kind of sad and shriveled. That's unfortunate. I guess I really did do like much bolder shadows on that one. Like you could clearly see between each ridge where the shade was, and then the highlights are just hitting the top. But this one, I don't know. Down for one more go. I don't think I'm gonna have the time or energy to really make an additional pumpkin to these guys. Although I can do one thing that might be kind of fun. Kind of fun. We'll see. So this will probably be my last go one way or the other on highlight shadow for this guy. Highlight / shadow alt 2. We want to just work with the flats at max color this time so we know what we're getting into. That might not be a bad idea. I guess, hold on. The stem looked fine like this. I think it looked better like that. It kind of just blends into the background when we do it that way. So let's do that. That's the flats. Don't do it on the flats. See, I don't hide the color, and I almost immediately do it again. I've got to adjust the opacity. Like my mental marker, apparently. Did not realize that. At least not to that. I didn't realize it was to the extent that it has been. That's not the right color. There we go. Better or for worse, that looks like that now. I can't actually see where the lines are. I do have to adjust the opacity a tiny bit. But we can go easy on it. Let's start with the shadows first this time. That's what most people end up recommending for anyway. Maybe I should actually, listen. And we can sort of keep these angular, but we'll keep them a little lower key than we did those highlights last time. They don't need to be deep shadows on this one. Certainly not as deep as with the last one. Part of the issue, though, is also the line work is lighter than the shadows. Which I guess that was true of the other one, too, though, wasn't it? That being okay. So who knows? Make that consistent so that these look a little... You know what? We're going to do that. Let's make it pop. Pop. There's an edge. I'm just going to go kind of straight down on that one because I'm going to go like a little wonkier on this one. We got all this stuff in the middle filled in, even though it doesn't matter, but like, I'm still going to do it. Bring this side down a little further too. It was just so smooth. There's not a lot of texture even to work with on this edge. Oh. Ay. Gotta stop doing that. Let's see, we'll fill that. Like a little bit of a fill down there. They definitely need like some of the shadows down here. Pretty important shady place. Getting up to some shady business. Okay. Now we'll do the highlights. And we'll I'm gonna go wilder with the highlights. I'm gonna do spot highlights rather than trying to do the whole section, but I'm gonna do them all the way down. Those ones. Okay. I honestly don't know how these are gonna work. The other ones were pretty consistent from the lighting, but like the lighting on this one is so funky. Because it's so simple. That ends up making it funky to draw. And do that. An interesting sort of repetition pattern of these trapezoids going. Not sure that's what we want, but it's what we got, so we'll test it. Honestly, like it's funky, but I actually kind of like this one as opposed to the other two that I kind of didn't. This one, it looks just too haphazard, and this one doesn't make any sense with the physics. This one kind of works. Or we can do all three, and I don't know what kind of paper mache monstrosity that is, but it's something. Anyway, and even if we move this all the way up to max, I think it looks slightly less good at max, so we may drop it back down to the 80 range, even though it was at 88. We'll do 85. I want to do one more layer on this dude. We'll see. Now we gotta do pumpkin 3. Pumpkin 3. Woo! Okay. Now back to our lovely pumpkin 2. Let's throw another I guess a raster layer in here. Let's see if we can't do a little bit of a spooky face. What that's going to entail, we need a bit of highlight going for the inside. Give me a second. I got to think this one through a little bit because it's going to be a weird face on this one. Maybe it won't be that weird. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do face piece 1 there. Face piece 2 there. This is where it gets kind of weird because I have to sort of make it follow the pumpkin shape. I want to clean that last one up a little bit. The problem is that the physics of the pumpkins still affect us even when we're drawing the face. If we just lay the face flat on it, it's going to be super obviously wrong. So we'll do this. But then we need to actually get the proper inside of this going. So let's think about where we're going to see the edges and where we're really not. Actually, hold on. Since we've already got this outlined, might as well do the inside. I call this one cuts. And I'm just going to map inside 2 cuts, and we're going to sort of try feeling this out a little bit. Because I need to think about, for this one, oh boy, the physics of the pumpkin. Our angle, I don't think we'll see much in the way of the top until we get over here. Try this. If we want to add a tooth, we can, but let's figure this out first. The same deal with this one. These ones aren't so bad because they don't go over one of like the indents, but this one we've kind of like it's really hard making sure that we match it to the inside here. It's like if it, the pumpkin itself curves inward there, so we gotta actually represent that. Honestly, that is such a silly looking face, and I kind of love it. And I think that's a good use of the yellow. It contrasts well. I kind of love how that turned out, actually. I want to do another one. I'm going to do another face variant. Let's see. Do a folder in a folder. Face one. Then I'm going to do just a little temporary shoot up. Actually, we can do the doodop afterwards. That's fine. We'll put away face one. We'll make a new folder inside here called face two. Pop it down here. Inside of face two, I'm going to put the thing we did before. Those were both raster. They'll be raster's time to shine, even though in this case they honestly work either way. We were just using the highlight color, right? But it wasn't even the max highlight. It was the sub max highlight, which I think is probably better in this case. That's inside. Well, let's come up with the spooky face for this one. Kind of like a frowny type deal. Our angle's gonna make this one look really ominous. Just for good measure, let's even do one along this gap too. We'll see, Can't guarantee this will go well, but give it a shot. Not a bad way to carve a jack-o'-lantern, is it? Although I did actually do proper pumpkin carving yesterday. It's a lot of fun. I feel like I've learned a lot since the last time I did it. Part of it is being able to sketch out an idea in advance helps a ton. Definitely recommend practicing those sketching skills, if for no other reason than to improve your pumpkin carvings. But also, I'm on the right layer and that it's mapped in the right way. Okay, but also that like the real secret, because this is the first year where I've ever tried to do that two-tone thing where you've got somewhere you don't fully cut it out, but you like scrape some layers off. And man, that goes a long way. It's fun to do too. Oh, this is gonna be. I'm gonna have to actually think about that a little bit. There we go. I think that's right. Yeah, that works. Got a grouchy jack-o'-lantern too. And if you combine the expressions, you get something horrible and crazy. Don't like. But I'm glad we've got two options now. Friendly and angry. But yeah, so I'd say the secret, what you really need to carve a pumpkin is like, I don't know, obviously a big knife to get it open and a spoon to scoop it out, typical. But not even a big knife, just like a serrated knife that you can work with that's got a little bit of heft to it, nothing crazy. And then like, I don't know, an X-Acto knife and a small metal rod. Preferably like a metal skewer so it's got a point at one end. And you can basically use that to dot out where you want the pattern to go. And then for all the way through stuff, just take the knife and cut along that pattern. And for not all the way through stuff, you take just like a small X-Acto knife and cut up just the skin layer a little bit. that you can basically just like rub it out of the way using the blunt end of the metal skewer. Just push everything out of the way, and it works surprisingly well. It's better than I expected it to. But I do believe that's going to be it for today. I'm glad we got to do a little bit of a Halloween stream because, again, we will not be streaming on Monday. I'm taking vacation from work too. Like that's my proper holiday. Much as I love streaming, I also need to take a little pause from that. B, because one of the reasons I want to do that, besides just celebrating Halloween and staying up late to hand out candy and all that fun, also, I'm revamping my blender, or refreshing rather, because I've done a bit. I'd actually done a fair bit a while back, before Swordtember, I guess August, around the same time I was making the sticker things, I guess. And well, I'm a little rusty again. Like it came back really fast from that, which surprised me because the last time I did 3D modeling was A, not in Blender, and B, like 5 years prior. But with some good tutorials, it's not too bad to pick back up. And I want to make sure I've got some good ideas because freeforming Blender is not quite a point that I'm at yet. I need to make sure I've got a plan for what I want to do each session and a rough idea of how to achieve it. Because Blender runs into technical challenges more often, or at least a different sort of technical challenges. Ones that I missed from my old programming days. But anyway, I do enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to it. But it's going to be a different sort of thing. Blender is a different beast. Fun beast. A fascinating beast now that I'm starting to understand it better. But nonetheless, beastly. Okay, with that, that's enough rambling on my part. We'll zoom out and see what we've created. The tomato pumpkin is fascinating to me. It almost looks like kind of glassy, which I think is why I'm getting a tomato vibe, is that reflectiveness is too shiny. It's not matte enough. I think the angles actually help make it look a little more pumpkin matte for the others. This one, it's okay, but I like the boldness of this one. Really going crazy on it. This one's still interesting. Like I'm not unhappy with how it turned out, but this one, like, oh, I could actually like see getting a sticker of that and using it. This one would be like that backup sticker in the pack that like you get, and maybe you use as scenery if you're doing a scrapbook or something, but it's not like the one you bought the pack for. Well, I don't know. In the right setting, it would do fine. I don't mean to diss my poor little pumpkin there. It's good in its own right. Okay, I think that's enough of that. We'll be wrapping up for tonight. Hope y'all have a good evening. See y'all on Tuesday. Good night.